All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by BetUS TV, where tonight we will talk about a new low point for this Knicks season. The Knicks went into Charlotte to play a team that has long ago quit on this season, if they were ever really in on this season. It's not a serious basketball team. It's not a serious basketball organization. And a team that frankly has no interest in doing the things that you should have to do during this time of year when you're trying to beat a team that has real goals and aspirations. And that team, that unserious kind of a joke of a team, or at least they have been for a while now, didn't just beat the Knicks. They blew them out. They embarrassed them. And they did it in a way that if you are a Knicks fan and you had hopes about what this season could be, that level of frankly pathetic performance by this basketball team has to make you question everything that you thought you knew or you thought you believed about what this group was made of, what this group is capable of, and whether this group has any, forget enough, any of the grit and togetherness. That's my big word of the night, because it was nowhere to be found. The togetherness that defined last year's group. A group that we will, anybody who was lucky enough to watch them will remember for the rest of their lives, not because they won a ton of games. They did. They won 50 games. This team, even with tonight, I could see winding up with as many or more wins. And yet it feels completely different. And for a lot of people, it has felt completely different this entire season. And people like me have pushed back pretty hard at times. Say, you're overreacting. You're living in the past. Give them time. Let them get adjusted. They got to get used to each other. They got to build cohesion. They got to figure stuff out. They got to figure out how to play together. It's year one, yada, 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 yada. That's all talk. It's all talk. At this point in the season, where it's March, and you are trying to solidify whatever it is you're going to be when the games start to count in less than 4 weeks from now. Or I guess less than a month from now, I should say. March 19th is when the playoffs kick off. You should start to see the best from teams. And what the Knicks gave you tonight was the absolute worst that they are capable of. We could sit here and we could go through the caveats. The first one, maybe the only one that matters. No Jalen Brunson once again for this team. DJ Zulo, when he was doing the post game, I believe it was after the Warriors loss, phrased it very aptly. It was a ship without its captain. And I think that was it was appropriate, certainly on the court, because this team at the end of close games or during, when things get tight, they just have trouble generating any semblance of really offense that you could feel confident in. But what a game like this made me wonder, and it wasn't just this, it's honestly been a lot of the stuff that has happened over the last few weeks. I mean, starting with the Mikal Bridges comments, if you want to go to the Josh Hart blow up on the bench against the Warriors, if you want to go with them not starting games with any semblance of seriousness, I'm wondering if they are missing him as much off the court as they are on the court. I've said it after wins. I've said it after great moments. I've said it after big game winners and times where Brunson has rescued them, that he is as important to this franchise as any player is to any other franchise in the entire league. And I meant it then, and I think it may be truer now than after any of those good events. Because I said it, I was alluding to it on the halftime Zoom, and I think I'm going to double down on it now. I don't know that I would go so far as to say like they are playing like a fractured team, but they're out there like a bunch of guys. Not pulling in the same direction. I mean, defensively tonight was a complete joke. I know the Hornets, whatever, they scored how many points in the first half? 54 points in the first half, ended up with a 115 for the game. I know they scored like 145 points a week or so ago. I don't care. That team was the team that beat them tonight was terrible. I know they shot well from three, but that's only because they eventually got to the point where they're like, oh, we could just get whatever we want. And there was a level of comfort facing this Knicks defense that, like, they were never threatened. Never once were they threatened. Any bad offense from the Hornets was a result of the Hornets, not anything the Knicks were doing. And like that's not a team that comes out prepared to win and prepared to compete. Doesn't do that. And is it one guy? Is it two guys? Is it all the guys? Is it none of the guys? And it's just a collective thing? I don't really know. I mean, if we want to go through the fingers to blame, we could go through them right now. Look, if you want to blame the NBA schedule makers and say that this was a yet another, I thought last night was supposed to be a schedule loss. Well, I guess how many schedule losses can we have in 1 week? When you want to talk about 10 for 39 from three, with all the travel that they have, like dead legs, the whole thing. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. It's the fucking Hornets. It's the fucking Hornets. It's not an excuse. Not against this team. When you had far more fans in the building than theirs, which I think matters. So I'm not sorry, but no. We can start with the coach. It's fine. There's, needless to say, no bigger defender of the man than the guy or than me right here. That wasn't a team prepared to play. That wasn't a team prepared to win. That wasn't a team that looked like it knew really what it was doing, certainly on defense. I mean, offense, did they generate some good looks? Yeah, sure. They generated some good looks and they missed them. And that's part of the game. But man, it doesn't feel like has been a whole lot of progress in what they are able to do or what they have been able to achieve and in terms of a game plan since Brunson went out. And look, people have been calling for Tyler Kolek for weeks. I've been laughing at those people. Like just literally outwardly laughing. Like we're sitting here talking about Tyler Kolek. At this point, what leg do I have to stand on? Is Tyler Kolek going to be worse than what we just saw from the likes of Campaign and Landry Shamet? Maybe there's a chance he actually would have given them some kind of a spark. Who knows? We don't know. That's the thing. When you win games and you do it your way, nobody gets to say boo. Or people will say boo, but it falls on deaf ears. But when you got the calls for this or that or the other thing, and you stick to your guns and you do it your way, well, then it's open season. Then it's fair game. And so, like, you want to go to the Kolek thing. You want to go to the fact that, like, the Deuce starting point guard thing hasn't really, has now probably had more diminishing returns than positive. I thought tonight was another rough game from Deuce. I mean, he was scoreless until the third quarter. And I think maybe the most damning thing of all with the coach for me tonight is that he put a player out there in the second half who, in the first half of this game, put forth the most embarrassing level of effort and just like being into the game that I think with maybe one exception, that I've ever seen from a player by far under this coach, and was reminiscent of like watching the Knicks of the like the 2000s and the 2010s. And yes, I'm talking about Precious Achiuwa. Precious Achiuwa, I get it. This season maybe hasn't gone as he would have liked it to. I get he, I don't know what he wants, because if there was another team out there that really wanted to sign Precious Achiuwa, they could have had him. Nobody came knocking. I think there's probably a reason for that. That dude went out there and played with a care factor of 0 in the first half. He made the Hornets look like a team that gave a shit with what he brought out there. And it was to the level where I actually at halftime, I was like, Tibbs, there's no way Tibbs is going to put him out there in the second half. He can't. I know he's stick to his guns. He is, I'm not going to, I'm going to trust the process. No pun intended. The fact that he put him back out there, and not only put him back out there, but put him back out there, and I think he played more minutes in the second half than he did in the first half. And it was just as bad, if not worse. That's like, I don't know, man. That's thumbing your nose at something really dangerous. And I did not appreciate it as a fan. I like, who else is on the bench? Like, it was to the level where, like, throw, they just signed PJ Tucker. Throw Tucker out there. Tucker's going to give a shit, But play DeLon Wright, if you don't want to play Tyler Kolek. Put DeLon Wright in the game. And play OG at the 5 and rejigger things that way. Play Josh Hart at the 5. Like, anybody other than Precious Achiuwa, because of what he gave you in the first half. It's just, that was unfathomable to me. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other Tibbs stuff that people are going to bring up, which, like, again, tonight, it's open season. But you know what? The other thing I was thinking about as I was watching this, that super chatter last night who sent in, and I forget their name, but shout out to them, was like, really? We're using this roster spot on PJ Tucker? And again, I was like, come on. We're really worrying about the 15th man? Well, guess what? Tonight, we probably should worry about the 15th man, because the Knicks bench was that bad. Landry Shamet, not an NBA player, at least not on a team that hopes to achieve anything decent. We talked about Achiuwa. Maybe the campaign thing has run its course. Seems like it has right now. You obviously didn't have Brunson. You obviously didn't have Mitchell Robinson. Look, I've been very complimentary of the front office. I have stood by the front office, and I will continue to stand by the front office, even though, boy, oh boy, are there certain decisions that, or one in particular that they made this summer, which is aging more poorly by the day. I'm not talking about Karl-Anthony Towns. Like, they were hamstrung and they were operating from a deficit without question. And that's why I think they deserve every benefit of the doubt for this season. At least get them to the summer, get them to another transaction cycle. But this, like, there's just not enough NBA players on this roster right now. And Benji tweeted it out as a joke, like something about Jericho Sims. I mean, traded Jericho Sims away to do the guy a favor. You know who you could have used tonight? You could have used Jericho Sims. You could have used Jericho Sims, because I just it would have been better than that. He would have absolutely been better than that. And you gave him away for a guy just because you're trying to do right by a guy, which, look, appreciate that. But you got a guy that doesn't play. And now, and you used the last spot on Tucker because of locker room, right? And look, maybe that'll pay dividends in the playoffs. It might. But right now, that doesn't look great. I don't know what TJ Warren was doing tonight, but it would have been better with what they had. And, but like more to the larger, bigger picture issues, this front office made a bet on this group. And look, they were put into a bit of a corner when Isaiah Hartenstein left, and they were forced to kind of scramble a little. But they bet on, obviously, Brunson. They bet on the culture. And they bet that what they had going could overcome any deficiencies that, come with maybe some of the guys that they traded for, including Mikal Bridges. And boy, oh boy, since that Portland game, I know it hasn't been all bad. I know he's had some other, he had a nice shooting performance, certainly, against Miami. Is he made for this? Is he made for this? Are we sure he's made for this? I know I'm not the first person to ask that question. There were people asking that question back in the preseason. And it's gotten to the point where I feel like it's more than warranted. So yeah, you want to blame the front office? Blame the front office. As far as the players go, I talked about the bench tonight. That is nothing else needs to be said about the bench. Less said about the bench, the better. The shooting is what the shooting is. I thought OG Anunoby played really hard. He was one of the guys that played really hard. 3 for 12 from deep is 3 for 12 from deep. Towns, got frustrated at times, but I thought Towns was, again, their best source of offense for much of the night. Josh Hart, finishes 5 for 8. Actually, funny enough, how about Josh Hart making all 3 of his? Has there ever been a quieter, perfect 3-point performance on an evening than Josh Hart? Because he made the 3 threes that he took, and that was great. But like, again, the hesitation, the guarding off of him, it like, it's tough right now to overcome that with Jalen Brunson out. And they don't have any other options, though, because, again, who are you going to put in for Josh Hart? Josh Hart just play all the minutes with the way the bench played. And here we are. Here we are sitting, again, we're now less than a month away from the playoffs. And I know, Jalen Brunson is going to come back. There was a positive, I guess, report on him from Tibbs earlier today. He's not in a walking boot anymore. He's doing some light shooting. Might be dicey to get him qualified for All NBA and that sort of thing. I'm sure they'll try. He'll be back, and he cures a lot of ills. But I just don't know. I don't know how you watch this game and come away being like, everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. They were tired. It's fine. Second night back-to-back. Hornets hit some shots. Knicks didn't. It's fine. Brunson, he'll come back. Rescue. It's going to be fine. Something about that. Something about the level of how bad that was gives me pause as far as sitting here and saying everything's going to be fine. It doesn't look like it is right now. And I don't really know what else to say about it other than that. I'd say that this is like look in the mirror time, but if losing to the Spurs last night and having a guy who's going to be a ninth man for the majority of his career, like have a career game against you, if that didn't inspire a look in the mirror, and then what they do when they came out tonight, give a early 7-0 lead, the guy who they cut or traded away or whatever in the Bridges trade over the summer, Daquan Jeffries, is lighting him up. You know, like he was as good as any Knick tonight. Shit. So if there wasn't already a look in the mirror, are we going to expect there's going to be a look in the mirror before Washington on Saturday and before, the rest of the schedule? Why should we believe that? What is going to change? They're going to get some rest? All right. I hope that does it. I really do hope that does it. Because right now, and the worst part of tonight, I'm not even surprised. Because coming into this game, I was like, man, I don't feel good about this at all. But it's a long season. Hopefully we look back on this game and this little stretch as nothing but a blip. And I could look back on this and be like, man, that was an overreaction. It's not how I'm feeling right now, though.